you usually know the direction you've got to head. Like there's something not working or there's something that worked well that you want to do more of. And if you're measuring and you're really looking at your business as a numbers nerd, there is usually a clear direction of one way or the other. I think if I were to be talking to somebody opening a business today, I would say the biggest challenge is probably time management. I think a lot of people look at owning a business as like, oh, you've got all this extra time, you're your own boss. And that is so not the reality of it. I mean, you work all the time, you're on vacation, and you still have to take the phone calls.
Good morning. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3 of the Spotlight Podcast. I'm Courtney Butler, the Chamber Manager.
I'm Caitlin Sheets. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the Alliance. And today we are highlighting Posh, and we have Lindsay and Perry here to talk about the business. If you guys want to introduce yourselves and then maybe give a little bit of a background, where you started, and maybe what your role is now in the salon.
Sure. Yes, sir. My name is Lindsay Pile. I am the founding owner of Posh, and we opened in 2004, so it's been 22 years this year.
Wow.
We've had a lot of changes through those years. When we first opened, it was a booth rent salon, much smaller, little house setting. We expanded, grew into that location, and then in 2017, we did bought a couple more houses, tore down, and did another large expansion. So, in starting 10 to 12 people, today we've grown to anywhere between 40 to 50 employees, and it's been a great ride.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like it's full circle. I started in 2013 as Lindsay's associate. When we expanded and brought in shareholders on our salon company, I was able to buy in along with two other business partners. And I feel like my role is ever evolving and changing all of the time. But as of right now, I am a facilitator of our purchasing and our associate program, along as a stylist behind the chair. So that's what I do.
So when you look back on early days and starting the business, maybe Lindsay, and you were thinking, I want to start my own salon and really get this thing off the ground, what comes to mind, or what were your memories or decision making? What did it look like?
Sure. I was 25 years old, so I was obviously young and very naive. I had big dreams, but probably was a little unaware of the time commitment it was going to be. I think, you're fearful of all the things that you hope our guests are going to show up. Is a team going to build? Or will we be successful? Of course, all those things. But I think if I were to be talking to somebody opening a business today, I would say the biggest challenge is probably time management. Learning to juggle having a business is really like having another child. It is a part of you. It is an extension of you. If it's going to be successful. And I think that it is a huge time commitment is probably the biggest thing that I don't know why, but I think a lot of people look at owning a business as like, oh, you've got all this extra time, you're your own boss. And that is so not the reality of it. Sure. I mean, you work all the time, you're on vacation, and you still have to take the phone call. So I think that's probably the biggest misconception or one of the harder things in business. But it's also an investment in your future. So it's really a state of mind. Is it a loss of time or an investment in your future? And I think in being in business, it's a lot of reminding yourself to keep the right perspective, that this is really an investment in my future, not just a loss of time.
That investment of time, I feel like when you are first starting out, you're thinking, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But then when you take a step back and you look and you think, oh, I'm investing this time now, so that way maybe later on down the road, I've got a little extra free time to spend with my family or doing the extra things that I love. It puts it in perspective, and it gives you a little more motivation to want that commitment of time. It is a shift in mindset.
The Spotlight Podcast is sponsored by Community First Bank of Indiana, who was our first call because of how consistently they show up for our small businesses locally. When the partnership began, we invited bank president and CEO Rob Bloom to share the bank's vision. Here's a moment from that conversation.
it seems like people are craving community again and wanting trusted people to make decisions with and bounce ideas off of. And I know that a lot of business owners that Courtney and I have talked with, it's maybe hard for them to not only just wear all the hats, but then also when it comes time to grow and time to expand your business, you have to kind of relinquish some of the control and hand it off to somebody. When you see people coming in for loans or advice on their business, is that a conversation that you have a lot? Like maybe it's time to hire somebody, maybe it's time to bring in more staff.
Very, very much so. That's a conversation that if we have somebody who wants to come in and discuss the possibility of starting a business, it's one of the first things we hit on. Build your team.
Yeah.
Your banker should be a part of your team. An attorney should be a part of your team. You need to surround yourself with encouraging, supportive, and knowledgeable people. As the saying goes, no man is an island.
You can hear the full interview in episode 1 or learn more at cfbindiana.com/ourstory. We're glad to have their support along with the other great resources we're sharing today. Community First Bank of Indiana is a member of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
So I think like my mom went to the salon when I was little enough that I would read Junie B. Jones books when she was in there. And I think about like how different it looked then versus what it looks like now. Like what has the evolution of Posh looked like compared to when you first started and what it is now?
We had a little giggle on this.
We did.
Share your story.
I said things have changed so much, even from like when I was a little girl going in. You would go to the lobby, you'd have these horrible books that you would look through about these terrible haircuts that nobody wanted.
Yep.
And the way things have changed with social media and even with AI in your skill set of communicating with your guests, it has had to be evolving to set the standards of what your client expectation should be and what's truly possible. Staying on the cutting edge of education and technology has been huge in that. So you can know how to navigate through some of these AI created pictures that are being brought into you, because it's not just the flip through book in the lobby anymore. It has changed, and you've got to stay sharp.
You have
Even
to,
on
yeah.
being able to identify this as a filter and walking that through with the guest of the different lightings and how that affects hair color.
So have you seen that change, like the way that people have expectations of maybe what they're going to look like when they walk out of the salon? Or how do you manage like the expectations of your customer?
In my opinion, I feel like that all comes back to the cornerstone of our salon education policy. We stay continuing our education, and in Indiana, continuing education is not mandatory for our industry. Only 5 to 7% of salons or service providers take the initiative to continue that education, and we do at least quarterly education within our salon, and we get to travel near and far to be able to have some of these opportunities. But that's what it all goes back to: knowing, furthering and mastering your craft to be able to communicate with your guests to get those results. That's where it starts.
So do you have, when you talk about that training within your employees, I think that's really interesting, and I'm sure it's changed so much over the years. But when you go from just yourself to 40 to 50 employees, can you talk a little bit about how you incentivize your employees? I'm sure it's probably a requirement for the continued education, but how they want to do that, and then the longevity of your employees as well.
Sure. It's actually something we even talk about in interviews. Like, we are very much an education-focused salon. So if education isn't something that you love and are passionate about, we're probably not the right fit, and that's okay.
Sure.
But we want people who want to constantly be on top of that, because our industry is a little different in that way. It's a fashion industry. So every season there's new trends. And it's a lot to keep up on in that realm, I guess. But we've integrated a lot of different systems to help make that whole transition work. From the very beginning, we have an associate program. So when you graduate beauty school, you learn the basics about how to do hair. You learn just enough to probably be really dangerous.
Sure.
And we've all been there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just part of it. Everyone has to be there. And you're still lacking a lot of the business knowledge behind the industry, the why, the how to really be successful, how to turn this into a career, not just a hobby, how to still be successful 30 years from now.
And financially independent. I feel like that is a huge part of the role that she plays in from the get-go, from that associate program, showing our new up-and-comers what their potential for earnings could be in our industry if you follow the right systems. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh,
interrupt.
that's okay.
No, that's a great point. Yeah.
It's a beautiful tool we use where it shows you. So at Posh, we have levels. And this is a great thing for the consumer to know too. When you're calling in our service providers, you can start with a level 1 and we go all the way to a level 7 right now. That doesn't mean someone's better or not better, but in a sense, it also helps you determine their demand of time. So a level 1 stylist is going to be our most cost efficient level in the salon. Our level 7 is going to be the most expensive, but she's earned that right to get there. She's done a lot of education, her demand of time. It's going to take you a lot longer to probably get into that 7 than it is the 1, but it gives the consumer a choice. If you're comfortable and you want a level 1 stylist and that's where you're happy with, great. If you try a level 1 stylist and you say, I think I might really like a level 3, I'm going to try that next time, there's that option.
Right.
So it gives those different levels for the consumer, but it also gives, I guess, that guideline for the stylist, for the esthetician, the nail tech, of where is my next raise? Because in this kind of business, that's a hard thing to know. And at what point has that warranted that? And education, of course, goes along with that. We have different certifications at each level, different education requirements at each level. But it's a scale you can look at and grow and get excited and win with. So within the salon, if you won your day, and you can celebrate that with your team. And that's a cool thing.
It's a very transparent, across the board, tailor-made to our demographic, our salon's numbers. So it's not funny or fuzzy. It's very attainable. It's very broken down to if you're a goal-oriented person, you know exactly what you have to do to achieve that next promotion. And I think when you break it down like that, our younger people that are like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this or take a vacation or have a down payment for a home. Well, if you are motivated enough and you follow these systems, it is tried and true and it can work out for you. And you have a beautiful opportunity within your leadership team to have some mentorship or some guidance through some of the obstacles. That's the beautiful part about having a team and having uh, that kind of sounding board of people that have been through it before that can help to guide you through some of those things. It's an incredible opportunity from start to finish when you look at what our associate program can do for young entrepreneurs wanting to have flexibility in schedule and opportunities endlessly for income, growth within your not just professional, but in your personal realm too. There are all kinds of different opportunities I feel like that we have incentivize wise for our employees to want to continue to grow.
And how have you seen it affect longevity in your stylists and your employees in the salon?
That's a great question. I feel like for us, the more invested in their craft and the more education they consume, the more on fire they are about providing for their guests. And they realize that it's not just an investment in us, but it's an investment in them too. We want to perpetuate their skill set and their career. And then they also want to stay loyal and true and invested in our salon company. So it's a give and take, in my opinion.
I think so too. I also think because there are additional opportunities as you advance through those, that there's something to achieve there. You get to a level 5 and you get to become an educator and take on an associate. And oftentimes, once you've reached that level 5, you've really checked off a lot of your goals and accomplishments that you've wanted to personally hit. In our industry, we're very much teaching kind of people. I mean, it's what we do. We teach you how to do your hair when you get home. So we have a heart for that.
Right.
And so by the time you've reached that level 5 and you've kind of checked off a lot of your personal things, most people feel it that they want to give back. They want to teach the next person. So it's a really neat, exciting thing in the salon when someone hits that level 5 and they get to take on their first associate. And, you know, that person for years, you're watching them, you're excited and winning. And I think your wins change. Their wins also become your wins because you've helped invest in this person and grow this person. And that's a really neat relationship that happens.
You get more excited for the wins that you help facilitate than your own personal wins anymore. You get more excited when you see your previous associates that you can see the light bulbs go off. You can see those ahas happening, and you get more excited for them than what you do for maybe your own personal goals that you have achieved. And it is so rewarding.
It's a whole different level of fulfillment.
It's
almost like the way you talk about it. It's kind of like being a parent, and your kid,
Absolutely is.
gets a new skill, or you see them like learn a new word. You're so proud, and you're like, this is, a testament to the work that I've put into you too. And I think we all need that as humans. You need that at home, and you need that at work too.
Yeah. I get to experience that in a neat way in monthly PDMs. We do a monthly personal development meeting with every service provider in the building. And it's really just how can I support you? Like, let's look at this. Where do you want to grow? Maybe it's verbiage. Maybe it's whatever it may be. But oftentimes it's, hey, Lindsay, I really want to buy a house in 5 years. And I'm not really sure how much I need for that. I don't even know where to start. And so we'll start working backwards and figuring that out and making a plan. Okay, we've got to save this much every paycheck for this many weeks, then we'll work with the financial advisor, get that set up. When 5 years happens and they get to buy that house, like, that is my win. That's a big deal. That's an exciting moment. Wow. And it's exciting, I would say, because they're independent. Like, they are self-sustaining. Oftentimes women, we have men too. I don't mean to be just one-sided, but our industry is strongly women. So to see a woman on her own that can financially support herself is a win in my book.
Well, so I'm sure that getting to those wins, there's some challenges within that.
Oh, for sure.
So, and I'm sure that's changed a lot in the last 22 years. Can you think of any hurdles or obstacles that you've gone through that taught you lessons, things that words of advice?
We only have until 12:45.
I have made plenty of mistakes. I would say when you're talking about challenges, in my own personal challenges and growing, one of the hardest things I ever had to do was build on while we stayed open. We did that expansion in 2017 while remaining in the same building and doing an expansion. And that was hard. I often tease to them that it aged me 5 years, but I felt that way. I mean, it was a hard year to try to maintain guest satisfaction in your building while the parking lot's tore up. You're out guiding people in a new way every day to enter your parking lot. You've got hammers going on out here. And that was a lot. It was worth it. I mean, it's part of growth. I think it's a good thing to remember when you're seeing small businesses in town that are expanding. It often feels inconvenient. Like, I can't get in here today. I can't do this. But in that moment, I had a guest. I was apologizing to her in my own panic of the hammers are loud today and she's trying to relax. And she looked at me and she said, Lindsay, don't apologize for that. That is a sign of success. Aww. And it really shook me in that moment. Like, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. But I think it's important for even all of us, as we're looking at businesses that are growing and trying to give back more to this community. There's a growth stage, and it's not pretty. You've just got to get through it, but they're trying to get there. And if you just bear with them and support them through that time, they do bring something bigger and better.
Sure.
You do. I mean, you're training a workforce. You're the direct impact of that on our economy. I mean, it would be interesting to see numbers, because I have no doubt that it's significant. All the people that you've trained and put back into our workforce over the years, like it's remarkable. So Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's an important sign of success. It's something physical. Now, when you drive by the salon, it's larger, and maybe that would be a good time to talk about, like, you've added services, you've added like a retail boutique space. How have all of those kind of income streams affected your business, and how do you manage it all?
So with that growth came needing more heads, right? Like
Right.
we need a bigger leadership team. We need more shareholders. We need more people that want to be invested in this company. So another cool thing, just this year, we took on another round of new shareholders. We opened up some shares, and
That's awesome.
yeah, so some of these, next generation people that have hit those upper levels had that opportunity, and we're really excited for that. But remind me what your question was
I
again.
feel like it got to the point where she wore so many hats. There were only so many hats that she could wear for so long before she had to delegate a couple other people to help start expanding her own wardrobe of hats to wear. Um, Strategic placement of our leadership team, excuse me, um, putting systems in place that maintained consistency of our expectations of service. So that way everything stayed continuous. But the integration of an expansion of our leadership team, I feel like, was huge in that. And I know it felt like she was giving a part of herself away because for so long that was her baby that she had put all of her time and love and effort in. And to take a piece of that and trust somebody else to care for it and nurture it and grow it like what you would, that's hard. But she picked the people perfectly for those positions to be able to also grow them as leaders in this and in that sense and shape them into really who we needed to be to wear those hats. That I feel like is how we navigated through the expansion and the adding on some of those other revenue streams. She was not going to be able to do it all by herself alone anymore. And she had the foresight to recognize that and put people in place for it. So
I think a lot of times that's really, really hard for people, especially maybe as women. I don't like in my home and my job, and I always want to think, well, I can
I could do
do
it.
the thing. I can add another
And
whatever.
why? I don't know why, but I feel like sometimes women feel like, oh, if I allow this help, that means that I'm incapable, or I'm a little weaker, I can't do it.
Right.
It really means that you are stronger and smarter because you have recognized you need to delegate some of this off of your plate so you can consume more.
That's such a positive way to look at it. And it's probably a lot easier to do that when you've invested years of your own time and resources into the person's career. You can trust them because you taught them to do what they're doing.
Right. So we've got a lot of heads now. We've got, well, Perry does all of the professional purchasing. Of course, she also has an associate herself.
I do.
but-
And I have a couple extras that are wonderful help on our leadership team that help to also delegate that purchasing too.
That's great.
We've got two people that lead all of our marketing in the salon. We were really fortunate. One of them even has a bachelor's in marketing. She
Wow.
just decided to do hair after that. From
For education.
Yes, Tia leads our all of our education, from booking it to the hotel rooms to the flights. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. We've got 20 people in June going to Las Vegas for the Redken Hair Show. So, managing all those rooms and the flights, and it's a lot. And she does a great job at that. Stephanie does a great job at the marketing. But then even the new babies that have come in, that they're not really babies, but, they're the next round of our babies. Riley stepped up with the social media, and Braden, he leads that front desk beautifully. Danny does, like our internal marketing on the TVs and the lift and learns, and Kelsey, which is a neat, I know, my daughter, full circle. She was just about 5 years old when I opened Posh, and she is now in there on the leadership team as a shareholder. So that's really neat too, to get to work with my daughter every day. That's a neat thing. And she takes care of payroll and a little purchasing as well. And so
I feel like you should still get some credit for the boutique purchasing because all of those cute clothes, she's still styling
So
all of
cute.
us.
And Bailey helps me tremendously. I tell her, you got to keep me young, Bailey. So I take Bailey to market with me for purchasing, and we do that. And you asked about a new revenue stream. That's a new revenue stream. That's a lot harder job than I thought it was going to be. I thought market would be so fun.
Yeah.
Like it's like shopping, right?
Right.
But it's really like going into a giant TJ Maxx.
Mhm.
So
Overwhelming.
Yes, and
Yeah.
the clothes are all stuck close together, and not quite the fun part. It's really a job, but yeah. But it's been a good. I think it's been a good fit. It fits our industry well. Fashion, hair, skincare, it kind of all goes together.
So when you go to market and you're picking out clothes, this is just because I've thought that sounds amazing. That sounds so fun. So how do you think, are you thinking about, what's trendy right now? What do I think our market, our Kokomo market would be interested in? That would be hard for me, I think, to not just pick what I like.
It's very hard. It's the most difficult because I have hands down the most expensive taste every time.
And she's also purchasing outside of the season that she's in based on shipping and when you're going to receive that. So you
Wow.
might be shopping in spring for your wintertime stuff. And I feel like that's been a little bit of a challenge too. Like, man, what's going to be on trend right
You
now?
have to really look ahead.
Yeah.
And the price point. You asked about what can my market afford. We have found, that's for us and our demographic and our salon company, the most expensive price point does not work. We've got to keep it at that. I would say more of, you're looking at those seasonal things that you're going to wear for a year, and next year you're probably going to change out.
Right.
We try to bring in a couple, maybe something that's a little higher priced is more of a staple, like a jean jacket you're going to wear for several years, or, a really nice sweater. But we really focus on trying to find cute, stylish things that are still at a reasonable price point for Kokomo.
Good point. So I think we talked about your challenges. When you look back, or even just in the most recent years, what are like really big wins or really, significant inflection points that come to mind?
We won Salon Today Top 200 a couple years in a row. That was huge. That was really big. I mean, top 200 salons in America is not an easy win.
Wow. In America.
In America, yeah.
That's awesome.
I think we won, I don't really know, 4 or 5 times. It was really neat. And so that's, of course, something that we celebrate inside. But I still think if we're really talking about wins,
our team.
It is.
Our
it
team
comes down to our
wins.
people. Yeah. That's what we celebrate most is the wins in there. And it's not even just hair wins, skincare wins. We have a lot of people that are getting married, having babies. I mean, young people that are having life wins, not just career wins,
Do you have anybody that's been with you since you expanded, like hired your first employee, or do you have any that are close to that 20 years?
My Aunt Lisa just retired. She would have been the closest. She did all of our payroll and front desk, but she's retired. I would say the next is probably Stephanie and Tia. Tia, yeah. I want to say they're at 16, 17 years maybe.
I think that's a testament to your leadership and your
Definitely.
growth within them, that they see the value and that they want to stay there.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
How long? What are you?
13 years.
13
yeah.
years?
That's awesome.
Now being a shareholder yourself.
Listen, I was full circle. I started as her associate and worked through, and I'm telling you, when she says that she's the self-proclaimed numbers nerd, she can break it down and make you understand it like nobody's business. And I was a little past my mid-20s, and I was not in this industry to make friends. I was in this industry to make money and have a flexible schedule and still be a present mom at home. And I needed to figure out how to do it, excuse me, and not waste a ton of time. And she was a wonderful mentor when it came to, all right, if you want to do this, here's how we're going to do it. If you want to give yourself a promotion or make sure that you've got $5,000 in your safety net bank account, here's how you're going to do it and follow these numbers. And it was tried and true. And under her lead, I did everything that I was taught to do, and it worked amazingly.
Now, you guys know, just because you can share that with somebody, not everybody does everything.
Right.
She did
Yeah.
everything. Like,
Right.
if you suggested it to Perry, she was going to try it.
Sure.
And that really made a difference. She level jumped in our salon company probably about as fast as anybody has.
So I felt like when we expanded and brought that opportunity for shareholders within our salon company, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best opportunity that I've ever had in a career. And I have looked back and reflected several times and thought, if given the opportunity to do it again, I would, and more, and then some,
Sure.
because it has been such a blessing. But then that much more, I got to see how she felt when she brought her first round of shareholders on when we brought round 2 in, because it was past the point of, okay, all of these obstacles and hurdles leading up. I got to work through that and live through that and then experience the win of leadership in seeing our second round grow and get excited about our growth as a company, and then their personal growth as humans, as service providers, and the role that they played. And it has been just an amazing little ride. I have said for 13 years, this is my dream job. Never in a million would I have thought that I was going to be afforded with these opportunities and love what I do every single day and make a pretty okay living at it too. And it has been just amazing.
You don't hear of I mean, you talk about your kids and like maybe struggles with your coworkers and stuff, but for you to say, okay, what's your goal? And this is how we can help you get to that. I think that is a testament to.
That's the difference between having a boss and having a leader.
Yeah,
We have
absolutely.
a leader at our company. A boss is just the lady that signed your paycheck.
Sure.
But a leader is somebody that's going to invest in you and make sure that you're okay at the end of the day, not you're just showing up for work.
Yep.
And that's what we have. We've got a whole family, but we've got a great leader.
You were talking about what's your goal. Those can change. You know, they can start out at 18 years old and I want to level jump and get here. And then they get married and they have a baby and life needs to back off a little bit.
Sure.
You know, we were talking about the struggles with, childcare and the expense of that is a real thing. That's changed a lot over 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it seems like childcare has become very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so, meeting them where they're at. If this season of life, I need to go down to part-time and that works for them, they can afford to do that. We work with that. Like, how can we manage this? If your daughter's got a recital at 5:00, we're going to find a way that you get to go be a mom.
Sure.
I think that's a neat thing in our industry that a lot of industries just can't afford that. You clock in and you clock out.
Yeah.
There's not that kind of flexibility to be able to.
That's how you retain your employees too.
Exactly right.
I think that if they love what they're doing, that they know you have their back, and they're going to have yours too.
Yeah.
It is your baby. They're going to want to protect
there is
that.
a partnership of willingness there.
Mm-hmm.
If they know that we're willing to be a little flexible and give a little to them, they're willing to give a little bit more to us when we ask. And that flexibility and that partnership is beautiful.
Have you seen your leadership style maybe change over the years? Over the decades? Because you have to be really passionate about leading people.
For sure. And what she said earlier was definitely true. When I started like handing out, delegating these, that was hard. That was,
Right.
I mean, are they going to do it right? Are they going to?
I'll just do it.
Right.
I'll just do it.
It's okay. Give it back to me.
Yeah.
And I've lived through a couple of those years. And then you get to the point where you just know, like, no, she'll handle it. And if it's, if it's wrong, she'll figure it out and figure out how to make it right and learn from that too.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's nothing usually that's so big you can't fix. So I think just trusting that they're going to navigate
they're probably
through
going to come to you if they need some help too.
Right.
Right.
But placing those different people, building a leadership portal. We do leadership Zoom calls now where we've got, it's called a 90 portal, which I know means nothing to you, but it's got our goals, what are we, what direction are we headed in this quarter? So just keeping that all streamlined and everybody on the same page, that's something that in the last 5 years I've really worked on. 2 years ago, I stepped out from behind the chair and just went to running the company full time. Huge transition. I miss my guests terribly, but the company needed it.
Yeah.
It needed that full-time person on the back end. And so I've really got to spend these last 2 years growing the leadership team, the back end, the making sure that we're all clear on our focus from month to month. And that's been a different hat to wear, but a good hat. Just the evolution of Posh, I guess. It was what was needed at that time, and it was like, well, it's time to step into it. I've delayed giving up hair long enough.
So how do you stay educated on leadership? Leadership is a whole other skill set.
It is.
And I heard you say something that I've heard in jobs previous, win the day. So I'm sure, like, do you have books that you read or podcasts you listen to about leadership? Like, where do you find the information?
Sure. Yes, I have a lot of, motivational people I probably follow. Another huge tool that we use is called Summit Salon Business Consulting. And it's a national consulting firm that's specific for our industry.
Okay.
So just great resources for that. If you're burnt out, here's a video. If you need some leadership encouragement, or maybe you're struggling with a consultation for a new stylist. So I can draw a lot of resources from there that helps.
When you have an example of something that is proven, tried and true, time and time again, it's trustworthy. And that is what I feel like Summit gives you, the tried and true methods that are trustworthy. And if you are willing to incorporate the advice that your consultant gives, that you pay them to give you,
Right.
those things just happen, not effortlessly, but intentionally. And I think that we have had wonderful guidance in our consultation relationship with them.
And I would say to that, I got asked that recently, actually, from someone who got put on the leadership team. She said, I feel like I'm an imposter when I show up because I'm new on this team, and I don't have I earned this? Like,
Right.
does the team look at me as a leader? And that's fair, right? I mean,
Right.
I think we all have felt like an imposter at some point. And I shared with her, you know what, you just keep showing up every day leading. And leading isn't one great thing. It's having a willing heart. It's being willing to listen, meet the person where they're at, and just help them work through it. And if you just keep showing up doing that every day, sooner or later you're recognized as a leader,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it requires a certain humility,
For sure.
I think, like meeting the person where they're at, and also just being willing to listen and receive advice. And I'm sure that there's some of that maybe you have to kind of filter through. Do you ever get leadership advice or business consulting advice that you think, like, I really don't agree with this?
I have. And I trumped my coach on that. I was like, oh, I don't know about this. And she giggled and said, this is just a suggestion. It doesn't have to work. And it was one of those situations where I could see how maybe it could work somewhere else, but it just really didn't pertain to us. And that's okay. Like, it's our company. This is our framework. Just because we have a consulting group that we team with doesn't mean we have to do everything they do.
Right.
You have to be discerning and say what works for our people. There's other salons that if you were, a mom that wanted to go down to part-time, that's just not an option. So just because one Summit salon maybe runs that way and another city doesn't mean that they all do. You're just paying for the coaching, you know. I think that can be a misconception, though. Like, well, I heard a Summit salon. I'm like, well, they're still independently owned.
Yeah.
It's different that way.
Yeah. And how do you find confidence in making those big decisions and in laying out the groundwork of here's how we're going to operate?
Blame it on Sally.
I tell them, blame it on me, and I blame it on Sally. That's our coach. I would say you usually know. You usually know the direction you've got ahead. Like, there's something not working, or there's something that worked well that you want to do more of.
Right.
And if you're measuring and you're really looking at your business as a numbers nerd, and you're really looking at the trends and what's happening, there is usually a clear direction of one way or the other. Now, how you might get there and you're navigating toward that could change, and it could change from today to tomorrow.
Right.
But you usually know if you're paying attention and really looking at, your numbers, what trends happen, what seasons, maybe it is what seasons do you maybe get more cancellations in, and how can we work against that? Can we do an extra reminder call during this season? Can we, it changes every year. Every year. You had said what was one of the most challenging things, and we talked about COVID, and we're like, we don't really want to go to COVID, but it's a perfect example of you pivot and shift and figure it out because you have to.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do during COVID?
Panicked.
Prayed
Freaked
and
out?
Prayed a lot. Panicked a little more.
Well, we completely,
a little bit.
completely created an online ordering system where we could do
still had to
curbside
wash
delivery.
and condition their hair.
Yeah.
People, even at home, not having, contact, they still would see their family. Some people still had to go to work. Some people did not have the shutdown that everybody else had. So we maintained all of the restrictions, but we were still able to provide our guests with their at-home care and maintenance. It was a very strategic pickup, collection of payment, all of that. But our leadership team, we didn't expect for our team members to come in and expose themselves unnecessarily. But our leadership team took it upon themselves to come in as cautiously and safely as possible, but still pivot, shift a little bit, provide our guests with what they needed, and still have a revenue of income in that time.
That's a type of resilience that is difficult, I think, for businesses to develop. Like, it's a resiliency, in owning a business is like a muscle that you work over time and you develop it. I wonder, Lindsay, like, what does your role look like now in the company, and where do you maybe see that going?
So I'm CEO at this point. I lead our monthly meetings. I do everyone's monthly PDM. I had shared earlier the 90 app. I'm in charge of all the setup, back end of that. And then from things like, financial advisor and sending out payments for that, the accountant meetings. I do a lot of the marketing meetings. Stephanie does a lot of that now too, though.
She's the captain and the chief. She comes up with the ideas, with what direction we need to go in, with where we're at on our growth, with what's new, what could we utilize here. She is the brains behind the operation. She's still very much involved in the day-to-day. She's just not with hands in the hair.
And I answer a lot of phone calls all day. If someone has a question, hey, how do I do this? What's this little hiccup I need to get through? I'm there to take that and kind of guide them through that. And that's nice too. Where before, being behind the chair, that was more challenging to when one of your employees needed you, you're standing there, and the guest also is paying you for your time. And that was just challenging. So this is a little easier to help lead that role without feeling like I'm pulling away from someone else.
Well, it was a privilege to do this today, and we're so proud to have you two and have Posh in the community. So thankful for what you've done for our community and our workforce, and thanks to Community First Bank for allowing us to do this.
Absolutely. We love Community First Bank.
Yeah, they're the best.
They are the
they're
best.
awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
This
so
was
much.
wonderful.
We enjoyed it.